The stars were cold and silent when Daehyun Park pressed his face against the window of the research ship New Horizon. He watched the endless black space filled with tiny lights. Each light was a star. Each star might have planets. And on those planets there might be life. Daehyun was a scientist who studied alien life forms. He had been traveling through space for 3 years now, learning about different creatures from different worlds. But today was different. Today he heard something that made his blood run cold. The message came through the ship's communication system. It was broken and hard to understand, but the words that came through clearly were enough to scare anyone. The Velthek are coming. They destroyed everything. We tried to fight, but they are too strong. Save yourselves. Daehyun had heard stories about the Velthek Empire. Every spacefarer knew their name. They were the monsters that lived in the dark corners of the galaxy. For 3,000 years, they had been conquering worlds and destroying civilizations. No one had ever beaten them. No one had even come close. Captain Minho Lee walked into the observation room where Daehyun was standing. Minho was a tall man with serious eyes and gray hair. He had been flying through space for 20 years and he had seen many terrible things. But even he looked worried. "Did you hear the message?" Minho asked. Daehyun nodded. "The Kepler colony?" "Gone," Minho said. "Just like all the others. The Velthek hit them 3 days ago. By the time our rescue ships arrived, there was nothing left but burning cities and empty space stations." Daehyun turned away from the window. "How many does that make?" 17 colonies in the past year, Minho said. "Each one bigger than the last. They are getting closer to Earth." The Velthek came from a world called Keltharian Prime. It was a planet that would kill most living things in minutes. The gravity was 3 times stronger than Earth's gravity. The oceans were made of acid that could melt metal. Storms raged across the surface that were so powerful they could level mountains. The air was poisonous to most creatures, but the Velthek had grown up there. They were built for that world. Each Velthek stood 12 feet tall and weighed as much as a small car. Their skin was like armor made of bone and metal. They had claws that could cut through steel and teeth that could bite through stone. Their bodies were so strong that bullets bounced off them like raindrops. The worst part was how smart they were. The Velthek were not just strong. They were also clever. They studied each world they wanted to conquer. They learned about the people who lived there. They found the weaknesses. Then they attacked with perfect timing and perfect strategy. When the Velthek conquered a world, they did not just win the war. They took everything. They stole the technology. They captured the smartest people and made them work as slaves. They destroyed anything they could not use. After the Velthek finished with a planet, it was empty and broken. Daehyun had studied reports from the few survivors who escaped Velthek attacks. The stories were always the same. The Velthek ships would appear in the sky like black clouds. They would send a message demanding surrender. If the people said no, the Velthek would attack. If the people said yes, the Velthek would attack anyway. "They are not like us," one survivor had told Daehyun. "They do not want peace. They do not want to trade or talk. They only want to win. They are perfect killers from a world that makes perfect killers." The communication system made a beeping sound. Minho walked over to answer it. The voice that came through belonged to Admiral Boram Han, the commander of Earth's defense forces. "All ships return to Earth immediately," Admiral Han said. "We have received intelligence that suggests the Velthek are moving toward our solar system." "This is not a drill." "Repeat, this is not a drill." Minho looked at Daehyun. "How long do you think we have?" Daehyun thought about everything he knew about the Velthek. Their ships were fast. Their technology was advanced. They had never been stopped before, maybe 6 months, he said. Maybe less. Far away in the cold darkness between the stars, a massive Velthek warfleet was moving toward Earth. The ships were black and covered with spikes. They looked like giant insects made of metal and death. Inside the largest ship, Kithak Prime stood in front of a holographic map of the galaxy. Kithak Prime was the leader of this war fleet. He was bigger than other Velthek, with scars covering his armor-like skin. Each scar represented a world he had conquered. There were hundreds of them. He had been fighting wars for 500 years and he had never lost a battle. A smaller Velthek approached him. This one carried a data pad with information about their next target. "War leader," the smaller Velthek said, "we have completed our analysis of the new species." Kithak Prime looked at the data. It showed a blue and green planet with 1 moon. The gravity was normal. The climate was mild. The oceans were made of water instead of acid. It looked like a soft, easy world. What about the creatures that live there? Kythek Prime asked. They call themselves humans, the smaller Veltek said. They are small. Average height is less than 6 feet. They have no natural armor. No claws, no deadly poisons. They appear to be very weak. Kythek Prime made a sound that might have been laughter. How many worlds do they control? Only one solar system. They have some small colonies, but nothing important. Weapons. Primitive. They still use chemical explosives and metal projectiles. They have some energy weapons, but nothing that could hurt our ships. Kythek Prime studied the image of Earth. It looked so peaceful, so green and blue and safe. Nothing like the storm-covered nightmare world where he had been born. This would be easy. These humans would surrender quickly or they would die quickly. It did not matter which. Prepare the fleet, Kythek Prime ordered. We will reach their system in 100 days. Make sure our weapons are ready. Make sure our soldiers are hungry for battle. Yes, war leader. What should we expect from the humans? Kythek Prime looked at his scars. Each one told a story of victory. Each one represented a species that had thought they could fight the Velthak and win. They had all been wrong. The same thing we always expect, he said. Fear, desperation, and failure. But Kythek Prime was wrong about one thing. He thought he understood what made a species dangerous. He thought it was about being big and strong and covered with armor. He thought it was about having claws and fangs and poison. He had never met a species like humanity. He had never met creatures who came from a world that was more dangerous than his own. He had no idea what was waiting for him in that peaceful-looking solar system. The war fleet continued moving through space, carrying death toward Earth. But Earth was ready for them in ways they could never imagine. The Velthak war fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system on a Tuesday morning. Their black ships moved through space like a dark storm cloud, blocking out the light from distant stars. There were 50 ships in total, each one the size of a small city. Kythek Prime stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue planet ahead. Earth looked even more peaceful up close. White clouds swirled around green continents and blue oceans. It was nothing like his homeworld with its acid storms and poisonous air. Send the surrender message, Kythek Prime ordered. This was how it always began. The Velthak would arrive and demand immediate surrender. Most species would panic. Their leaders would argue and fight among themselves while their people screamed in terror. Some would try to negotiate. Others would attempt a desperate attack. All of them would fail. The message was sent to Earth. It was simple and direct. We are the Velthak Empire. You will surrender your world and your technology. You have 1 day to respond. Resistance will result in total destruction. Then they waited. Captain Min-Ho Lee received the message aboard his ship, which was now part of Earth's defense fleet. He read it twice, then forwarded it to Admiral Borum Han at Earth Defense Command. The Admiral read it and smiled. Send our response, Admiral Han told her communications officer. The message that went back to the Velthak fleet was not what Kythek Prime expected. Instead of fear or anger, it was polite and professional. Greetings to the Velthak Empire. We are the United Earth Government. We welcome you to our solar system. We would like to arrange a meeting to discuss our mutual interests. Please respond with your preferred time and location for diplomatic talks. Kythek Prime stared at the message. In 500 years of conquest, no one had ever welcomed him. No one had ever asked to discuss mutual interests. He read the message again to make sure he understood it correctly. What does this mean? He asked his communications officer. I believe they want to talk, war leader. Talk? Kythek Prime was confused. About what? Meanwhile, on Earth, scientist Ji-Hyun Kim was studying the Velthak ships through the most powerful telescopes humanity had ever built. What she saw made her frown. She had expected to see ships built like fortresses with thick armor and massive weapons. Instead, she saw something different. The Velthak ships were strong, but they were built for fighting other ships in space. They were not built for the kind of warfare that humans understood. Ji-Hyun pulled up data about the Velthak homeworld and compared it to Earth's history. Caltharian Prime was dangerous, but it was dangerous in predictable ways. The storms always came from the same direction. The acid rain fell on schedule. The temperature never changed much. It was a harsh world, but it was a stable harsh world. Earth was different. Earth was chaos. Ice ages came and went without warning. Volcanoes exploded and changed the climate for decades. Asteroids fell from the sky and killed everything. Diseases spread across continents. Earthquakes split the ground open. Hurricanes, floods, droughts, and wildfires struck randomly. They evolved for surviving one type of danger, Ji-hyun told her research team. We evolved for surviving every type of danger. The diplomatic meeting was scheduled for the next day. It would take place on a neutral space station halfway between Earth and the Velthak fleet. Ambassador Soo-young Choi would represent humanity. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but she had negotiated peace treaties on 12 different worlds. As Ambassador Choi prepared for the meeting, Colonel Hyunwoo Nam was preparing something else. He commanded Earth's Special Operations Forces, and he had been given permission to demonstrate human military capabilities to the Velthak. Show them what we can do, Admiral Han had told him. But do it in a way that looks like training exercises, Colonel Nam smiled. He had some very interesting training exercises planned. The diplomatic meeting began at exactly noon, Earth time. Ambassador Choi sat across from Kithak Prime in a conference room aboard the neutral station. The Velthak war leader was enormous, twice as tall as any human and covered in natural armor that looked like it could stop bullets. We are here to accept your surrender, Karthak Prime said. That is not why we are here, Ambassador Choi replied calmly. We are here to discuss how our two species can coexist peacefully. Karthak Prime made a sound like grinding metal. You cannot resist us. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. I am sure you have, Ambassador Choi said. But we are not those worlds. We are something different. While the ambassador talked, Colonel Nam's demonstration was beginning. Earth's defense forces had set up training exercises near Jupiter's moons. The Velthak had sensors that could watch everything happening there. The first exercise showed human soldiers working underwater. They swam through flooded tunnels while fighting robotic enemies. They moved quickly and easily as if the water did not slow them down at all. The second exercise took place in zero gravity. Human soldiers fought in the empty space between asteroids, using small jets to move around while firing weapons in all directions. They worked together like a school of fish, each one knowing exactly where the others would be. The third exercise was in a chamber filled with poisonous gas. The humans wore simple masks while fighting enemies in air that would kill most creatures in minutes. They moved normally, as if breathing poison was no problem at all. Kithak Prime watched these exercises on a screen in the conference room. He had never seen soldiers who could fight effectively in so many different environments. His own warriors were incredibly strong, but they needed special equipment to work underwater or in poisonous air. Your soldiers are adaptable, he admitted. All humans are adaptable, Ambassador Choi said. We had to be. Our world taught us how. Your world looks peaceful. Ambassador Choi smiled. Looks can be deceiving. Our world is beautiful, but it is also deadly. It has tried to kill us many times. Ice ages that lasted for thousands of years. Volcano eruptions that blocked out the sun. Plagues that killed half our population. Asteroid impacts that destroyed entire continents. Kithak Prime frowned. This did not match his intelligence reports about Earth. But you survived, he said. We did more than survive. Ambassador Choi said. We learned. Every disaster taught us something new. Every challenge made us stronger, not just individually but as a species. The fourth exercise began. This one showed human soldiers fighting in extreme heat, in a chamber that simulated the surface of Venus. They moved quickly and efficiently while the temperature reached levels that would cook most creatures alive. The fifth exercise was the opposite. Humans fought in extreme cold in conditions that simulated the surface of Pluto. Again, they adapted and overcame. How? Kithak Prime asked. How what? How do you fight in so many different environments? My soldiers are the strongest in the galaxy, but they cannot do this. Ambassador Choi looked at the enormous alien warrior. He was impressive, covered in natural armor and built like a living tank, but she could see something in his eyes that surprised her. It was not anger or arrogance. It was confusion. Your soldiers are very strong, she said, but strength is not the only important thing in a fight. What else matters? Endurance, flexibility, the ability to change tactics quickly, the willingness to work together, the refusal to give up no matter how bad things get. The sixth exercise began. This one was different from the others. It showed human soldiers fighting a battle that lasted for 3 days straight. They took turns sleeping and eating while their teammates continued fighting. When some soldiers were injured, others took their place. The battle never stopped and the humans never quit. Kithak Prime watched in silence. His warriors were powerful, but they could not fight for 3 days without rest. No one could do that. This is impossible, he said. This is Tuesday, Ambassador Choi replied. Would you like to see what we do when we are really trying? For the first time in 500 years, Kethak Prime felt something he had never experienced before. It was not fear exactly, but it was close. It was the feeling that maybe, just maybe, he had finally met something he did not understand. The meeting continued for 6 more hours. By the end, both sides had agreed to extend the talks for another week. The Valthak fleet would remain where it was, and Earth's forces would continue their training exercises. As Ambassador Choi returned to Earth, she sent a message to Admiral Han. They are strong, but they are specialists. We are generalists. That might be enough. As Kethak Prime returned to his flagship, he sent a message to his intelligence officers. Get me everything you can about human evolution. Everything about their planet's history. I need to understand what we are really facing. The war had not started yet, but both sides were beginning to realize that this would not be like any conflict they had fought before. Dr. Yoonji Song stepped onto the Veltak flagship with a simple bag in her hand and a smile on her face. She was not afraid, even though she was surrounded by 12-foot-tall alien warriors who could tear her apart with their bare claws. The other humans in the diplomatic team looked nervous, but Yoonji felt excited. She was an evolutionary biologist, which meant she studied how life forms changed and adapted over time. For 30 years, she had dreamed of meeting an intelligent alien species. Now she was about to learn everything about how the Velthak had evolved on their death world. More importantly, she was about to teach them something about Earth that would change everything. Kethak Prime met her in his ship's science laboratory. The room was huge, built for creatures much larger than humans. Everything was made of dark metal and sharp angles. It looked like a place where warriors might plan battles, not where scientists might study life. You are the human who understands evolution? Kethak Prime asked. I am Dr. Yoonji Song, she said. And yes, I study how species change over time. I understand that you would like to learn about human evolution. Yes, Kethak Prime said. Your species confuses me. You are small and weak, but your soldiers fight like something else. I need to understand how this is possible. Yoonji smiled. I would be happy to explain. But first, may I ask about your own evolution? I would love to learn how your species developed on Kaltharian Prime. Kethak Prime gestured to a large screen that showed images of his homeworld. The pictures were impressive and terrifying. Storms raged across purple landscapes. Lightning struck the ground constantly. Oceans of acid boiled under a red sky. Kaltharian Prime is a harsh world, he said with pride. The gravity is 3 times Earth normal. The atmosphere contains acid vapors that would burn your lungs. The storms produce electromagnetic pulses that destroy most technology. The temperature swings from freezing to boiling every 6 hours. It sounds very challenging, Yoonji said, taking notes on her tablet. Only the strongest survived. Kethak Prime continued. For millions of years, natural selection chose the biggest, most armored, most aggressive individuals. Those who were weak died quickly. Those who were strong lived long enough to have children. Over time, we became what we are today. Yoonji nodded. That makes perfect sense. You evolved specialized adaptations for surviving consistent, predictable threats. Your armor protects you from acid and temperature changes. Your size and strength help you survive in heavy gravity. Your aggression helps you compete for resources. Exactly, Kethak Prime said. We are the perfect predators for our world. And because we are perfect predators, we are perfect conquerors for any world. That is very logical, Yoonji said. Now, would you like to hear about human evolution? Kethak Prime settled into a chair that was built for someone 3 times Yoonji's size. Yes. Tell me how your species became warriors. Yoonji pulled up her own images on the screen. The first picture showed Earth from space, blue and green and peaceful. This is our world, she said. As you can see, it looks very calm. Yes, Kethak Prime said. It looks soft, easy. That is what everyone thinks, Yoonji said. But Earth is not soft. Earth is the most dangerous world in this galaxy. Kethak Prime made a sound like laughter. More dangerous than Kaltharian Prime? Your world has no acid storms, no crushing gravity, no poisonous air. You are right, Yoonji said. Earth does not have those things. Earth has something much worse. She changed the image on the screen. Now it showed a massive wall of ice covering half a continent. Every 100,000 years our planet freezes, she said. Ice sheets 2 miles thick cover everything. The temperature drops so low that the oceans turn solid. Most life dies. This has happened at least 20 times since complex life began. Kithak Prime studied the image, but life survived. Some life survived, Yunji said. The life that could adapt quickly. The life that could change its behavior, its diet, its habitat. The life that could work together to share resources and knowledge. She changed the image again. This time it showed a volcano exploding with enough force to shatter mountains. Every few thousand years our planet tries to burn us, she said. Supervolcanoes explode and fill the air with ash. The sun disappears for years. Plants die. Animals starve. The air becomes poison. Another image. This one showed a massive rock falling from space toward Earth. Every few million years rocks from space hit our planet, she said. When they hit, they explode with more force than all our nuclear weapons combined. They start fires that burn entire continents. They throw so much dust into the air that winter lasts for decades. Kithak Prime was no longer making sounds like laughter. How does anything survive this? Most things do not survive, Yunji said. 99% of all species that ever lived on Earth are extinct, dead, gone forever. She showed him charts and graphs that told the story of mass extinctions. 5 times in Earth's history, almost everything had died. Each time, life had to start over from almost nothing. But humans survived, Kithak Prime said. Humans almost did not survive, Yunji said. 70,000 years ago, a supervolcano exploded in Indonesia. It nearly killed our entire species. Scientists think there might have been only a few thousand humans left alive in the whole world. What saved you? Yunji smiled. We learned to cooperate. We learned to share information. We learned to make tools. We learned to adapt to any environment. We did not evolve to be the strongest or the biggest or the most armored. We evolved to be the most flexible. She showed him images of early humans living in caves making fire, working together to hunt animals much larger than themselves. Your species specialized, she said. You became perfect for your specific environment. Our species generalized. We became good enough for any environment. The next image showed human settlements in the Arctic, in deserts, in jungles, on mountains near volcanoes, and on islands in the middle of the ocean. Humans live everywhere on Earth, she said. Hot places, cold places, wet places, dry places, high places, low places. No other large animal can do this. But you are so small, Kithak Prime said. Size is not always an advantage, Yunji said. Small creatures need less food. They can hide more easily. They can fit into places large creatures cannot go. They can survive when large creatures starve. She showed him data about human biology. Heart rates, lung capacity, muscle fiber types, bone density, healing rates. Humans can run for hours without stopping, she said. We can hold our breath underwater for minutes. We can survive losing half our blood. We can heal from injuries that would kill most creatures. We can see in almost complete darkness. We can hear sounds that most animals cannot hear. This seems impossible for such a small creature. It is not impossible, Yunji said. It is necessary. Earth taught us that the only way to survive is to be ready for anything. She showed him the final image. It was a graph showing human population growth over the last 1,000 years. 1,000 years ago, there were about 50 million humans on Earth, she said. Today there are 8 billion. We did not just survive our death world, we conquered it. Kithak Prime stared at the numbers. 8 billion? 8 billion, Yunji confirmed. And every single one of them is descended from survivors. Every human alive today comes from a family line that survived ice ages, volcanoes, plagues, famines, wars, floods, droughts, and asteroid impacts. We are all the children of the most successful survivors in the galaxy. The room was quiet for a long time. Kithak Prime looked at the data again and again, trying to understand what it meant. Your soldiers in the training exercises, he said finally. They were not showing off special abilities. No, Yunji said. They were showing off normal abilities. Every human can adapt to different environments. Every human can work with a team. Every human can keep fighting when injured. Every human can survive in conditions that would kill most other creatures. Because you had to learn these things to survive on your world. Exactly, Yunji said. Earth did not make us the strongest species. It made us the most adaptable species. And in a galaxy full of different worlds and different challenges, adaptability is the most powerful weapon of all. Kithak Prime stood up slowly. His natural armor suddenly looked less impressive. His size and strength suddenly seemed less important. I need to think about this, he said. Of course, Yunji said. Take all the time you need. But while you are thinking, remember this. We did not come here to fight you. We came here to offer you something better than conquest. What could be better than conquest? Partnership, Yunji said. You are strong and specialized. We are adaptable and cooperative. Together we could explore the galaxy and help other species instead of destroying them. As Yunji left the Velthak ship, she sent a message to Admiral Han. They understand now. They know what Earth really is. They know what we really are. The question is, what will they do with that knowledge? Admiral Borum Han stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha, watching dozens of screens that showed the positions of both human and Velthak ships. The peace talks had been going on for 2 weeks now, but she knew they were really just buying time. Both sides were learning about each other, preparing for what might come next. What the Velthak did not know was that humans had been preparing for much longer than 2 weeks. Show them the sanctuary files. Admiral Han told her intelligence officer, Lieutenant Jinwoo. Kang brought up a classified database on the main screen. The files contained records of every refugee ship, every survivor evacuation, and every rescue mission that Earth had conducted in the past 50 years. The list was much longer than anyone outside of Earth's government knew. Admiral, Lieutenant Kang said, we have been in contact with survivors from 47 different worlds that the Velthak conquered. We have been helping them rebuild their civilizations in secret. Admiral Han nodded. And they have been helping us understand Velthak military tactics. For decades, while the Velthak had been conquering the galaxy, Earth had been quietly collecting their victims. Human rescue ships would arrive at destroyed worlds just after the Velthak fleets left. They would search for survivors and offer them a choice. Come to Earth and help build a new future, or be taken to safe colonies far from Velthak space. Most chose to come to Earth. The survivors brought with them detailed knowledge of how the Velthak fought. They knew Velthak ship designs, weapons, tactics, and strategies. More importantly, they knew Velthak weaknesses. The Velthak always fight the same way, explained Commander Yuna Park, Earth's head of strategic planning. They depend on overwhelming force and superior individual strength. They do not adapt well when their enemies use unexpected tactics. What kind of unexpected tactics? Admiral Han asked. Everything we do naturally, Commander Park said with a smile. Guerrilla warfare, psychological operations, hit-and-run attacks, cooperation between different species, long-term endurance battles, fighting in environments that favor smaller, more flexible forces. Captain Jinwoo Kang, who had been promoted to lead one of Earth's newest stealth ships, raised his hand. Admiral, we have been testing some of these tactics in the outer system. The results are very encouraging. On the screen, video footage showed a Velthak patrol ship being attacked by human forces, but the attack was unlike anything the Velthak had ever experienced. Instead of meeting them head-on with bigger guns and stronger ships, the humans used speed and surprise. Small human ships appeared from behind asteroids, fired quickly, and disappeared before the Velthak could respond. Human soldiers in spacesuits used magnetic clamps to attach themselves to the outside of Velthak ships, then cut through the hull with plasma torches. When Velthak warriors came to fight them, the humans had already moved to a different part of the ship. The Velthak are strong and tough, Captain Kang explained, but they are not fast. They are not flexible. They do not work well in zero gravity. They need their ships to be exactly the right temperature and air pressure. They cannot hold their breath for very long. And we can do all of those things, Admiral Han said. Exactly. We have been fighting in space for 300 years. We know how to work in vacuum. We know how to fight in zero gravity. We know how to survive on minimal resources. Dr. Nayoung Oh, Earth's chief medical officer, brought up another set of data. Admiral, we have completed our analysis of Velthak biology. There are some important things you should know. The medical data showed detailed scans of Velthak physiology. Their bones were incredibly thick and strong. Their muscles were dense and powerful. Their skin was like natural armor. But there were also weaknesses. They are adapted for high gravity and harsh environmental conditions, Dr. O explained. But this makes them less efficient in normal conditions. Their hearts work harder than they need to. Their lungs process more air than necessary. Their digestive systems require more energy than ours. What does that mean in practical terms? Admiral Han asked. It means they get tired faster than we do. Their reflexes are slower than ours in low gravity. Their fine motor control is poor compared to humans. And most importantly, they cannot sustain high-intensity activity for extended periods. Specialist Wanho Lee, who commanded Earth's elite survival training program, stepped forward. "Admiral, we tested this theory with volunteers from the refugee populations, species that had fought the Velthak before. The results were remarkable." He showed footage of combat simulations. Human soldiers faced off against alien volunteers wearing armor that simulated Velthak strength and toughness. In short, direct confrontations, the mock Velthak won easily. But in longer battles, the humans always won. After 30 minutes of continuous combat, the simulated Velthak were exhausted, Specialist Lee explained. After 1 hour, they could barely move. After 2 hours, they collapsed. The humans were still fighting effectively after 6 hours. "Endurance," Admiral Han said. "Endurance," Specialist Lee confirmed. "It is humanity's greatest military advantage. We can outlast anyone." The briefing continued for 2 more hours. Admiral Han learned about human technological advantages that the Velthak had not discovered yet. Earth's ships were not just tools for transportation. They were survival machines built by a species that had learned to expect disaster. Human spacecraft could operate in radiation fields that would kill. Velthak electronics, human life support systems could keep people alive in conditions that would be impossible for most species. Human medical technology could treat injuries and diseases that would be fatal to others. But the biggest advantage was something else entirely. "They think like conquerors," explained Dr. Shungmin Cho, Earth's expert on alien psychology. "For 3,000 years, the Velthak have been the strongest species in every fight. They have never had to develop strategies for fighting someone stronger than themselves." "And we have?" Admiral Han asked. "We have never fought anyone weaker than ourselves," Dr. Cho said. "Every predator on Earth was stronger than humans. Every natural disaster was more powerful than humans. Every disease was deadlier than humans. We learned to win by being smarter, not stronger." The final presentation came from engineer Taemin Young, who led Earth's technology development program. He showed Admiral Han weapons and tools that looked simple but were designed with Earth's philosophy in mind. "Velthak technology is built for overwhelming force," Engineer Young explained. "Their ships have massive guns and thick armor. Their weapons are designed to destroy targets completely. Their tools are built for strength. And ours? Ours are built for survival and adaptability. Our ships can be repaired with basic materials. Our weapons work in any environment. Our tools can be used for multiple purposes. If we lose half our equipment, we can still complete the mission." Admiral Han looked at all the data, all the plans, all the preparations that Earth had been making. Humanity had not just been getting ready for war with the Velthak. They had been getting ready to change the nature of warfare itself. "Do we have enough allies?" she asked. 47 different species have agreed to help us," Commander Park reported. "Most of them are survivors of Velthak conquests. They want revenge, but they also want something more important." "What?" "They want to believe that the Velthak can be beaten. For 3,000 years, everyone in the galaxy has accepted that the Velthak are unbeatable. If we can prove that wrong, it changes everything." Admiral Han thought about Dr. Yoonji Song's report from the Velthak flagship. The aliens were beginning to understand what Earth really was. They were beginning to realize that humans were not another soft species waiting to be conquered. But understanding and accepting were two different things. "What do you think they will do?" Admiral Han asked her staff. "They will test us," Commander Park said. "They will try to prove that their way is still the best way. They will challenge us to a fight that they think they can win. And if they do, then we show them what Earth's children can really do," Admiral Han said. "We show them that sometimes the best way to win is not to be the strongest. Sometimes the best way to win is to be the last one standing." Outside the station's windows, both human and Velthak ships continued to watch each other across the darkness of space. Neither side had fired a shot yet, but both sides knew that the peace could not last forever. The galaxy's greatest predators were about to learn what happened when they met the galaxy's greatest survivors. The challenge came on a cold morning when both fleets had been staring at each other for 3 weeks. Kaithak Prime sent a message to Admiral Borum Han that was simple and direct. "Your species claims to be strong. Prove it. Single combat between our greatest warriors. If you win, we will listen to your alliance proposal. If we win, you surrender your world." Admiral Han read the message twice before answering. "Accepted. But we choose the terms of combat." Kaithak Prime agreed immediately. He was confident that no human could defeat a Valthak warrior in any kind of fight. What he did not understand was that humans had been fighting creatures stronger than themselves for their entire evolutionary history. General Una Park was chosen to represent humanity. She was not the largest human or the strongest, but she had something more important. She had survived more impossible situations than anyone else in Earth's military. She had fought in the ice caves of Europa, the acid storms of Titan, and the crushing gravity of Jupiter's upper atmosphere. She had never lost a battle because she had never met a challenge she could not adapt to. The combat would take place on a neutral station between the two fleets. But instead of a simple fighting arena, General Park proposed something different. A series of survival challenges that would test adaptability, endurance, and intelligence. Why not just fight? Kithak Prime asked during the pre-combat meeting. Because anyone can throw a punch, General Park replied. We want to see who is really the better warrior. The first challenge took place in a chamber filled with freezing water. Both warriors had to swim through an underwater maze while fighting off robotic attackers. The maze was dark, cold, and filled with obstacles that required both strength and flexibility to overcome. Kithak Prime was powerful in the water, but his heavy armor made him slow. His large size made it hard for him to fit through some of the narrower passages. When the robotic attackers came, he fought them with brute force, smashing them apart with his claws. General Park moved through the water like she had been born in it. She was fast and flexible, sliding through tight spaces and using the maze's structure to her advantage. When the robots attacked her, she used their own momentum against them, redirecting their attacks and disabling them efficiently. The first challenge ended with both warriors reaching the finish line, but General Park arrived 3 minutes sooner and had used much less energy. The second challenge was a test of endurance. Both warriors had to run across a series of platforms while carrying heavy equipment. The platforms moved and changed position randomly. Some were hot enough to burn skin. Others were so cold that metal became brittle. Some had low gravity. Others had gravity that was crushingly strong. Kithak Prime was strong enough to carry the heavy equipment easily, but the changing conditions confused him. His armor protected him from extreme temperatures, but it also made him clumsy when the gravity changed. He fell several times and had to use extra energy to get back up. General Park struggled with the weight of the equipment, but she adapted to each platform quickly. When the gravity was low, she used long, bounding jumps. When it was high, she took shorter, more careful steps. When the platforms were hot, she moved quickly. When they were cold, she moved carefully to avoid slipping. Again, both warriors finished the challenge, but General Park finished faster and looked less tired. The third challenge was the most complex. Both warriors were placed in a damaged spacecraft that was losing air and power. They had to repair the ship's systems while fighting off boarding parties of robots. The challenge required technical knowledge, quick thinking, and the ability to multitask under pressure. Kithak Prime approached the problem like a traditional warrior. He fought the robots first, destroying them completely before trying to fix the ship. His strength and natural weapons made him deadly in close combat, but working on delicate electronics was difficult with his large claws. General Park took a completely different approach. She fixed the ship's systems while fighting the robots at the same time. She used the ship's own defenses against the attackers, turning lights on and off to confuse them and using the ship's artificial gravity to throw them around. She repaired the most critical systems first, which gave her more tools to use against the remaining robots. By the end of the third challenge, Kithak Prime was breathing heavily and moving slowly. His armor was scratched and dented. He had used enormous amounts of energy in each challenge, fighting every problem with maximum force. General Park was tired but still alert. Her equipment was damaged but functional. She had conserved her energy by working smarter instead of harder. One more challenge, General Park said. A real test. The fourth challenge was not planned. It was an emergency. Alarms began blaring throughout the station. A real crisis was happening. One of the station's power cores was overloading and threatening to explode. If it did, it would destroy the station and kill everyone aboard both fleets. This is not part of the combat, Kithak Prime said. No, General Park agreed. This is more important than combat. Help me stop this or we all die. For the next 2 hours, the human general and the Valthak war leader worked together to prevent disaster. They had to crawl through maintenance tunnels, work in zero gravity, and handle radioactive materials. They had to trust each other and coordinate their different abilities. Kithak Prime's strength was essential for moving heavy debris and broken machinery. General Park's technical knowledge was crucial for understanding the complex systems. Neither of them could have succeeded alone. When the crisis was over and the station was safe, both warriors sat in the control room exhausted but alive. "I understand now," Kithak Prime said. "Understand what? Why your species survived your death world. You do not just fight problems. You solve them. And you understand why we offered you an alliance instead of a war," General Park said. Kithak Prime nodded slowly. "My species is powerful, but we are limited. We know only one way to deal with challenges: crush them. Your species knows many ways. Together we would be stronger than either of us alone. That is the idea." The formal end of combat was announced to both fleets. General Park had won the challenges, but more importantly, both sides had learned something valuable. Commander Sungmin Cho had been watching the entire combat from his stealth ship, hidden near the station. During the emergency, he had infiltrated the Veilthak flagship and downloaded their complete database. It was not an act of war, it was a demonstration. "How did you get aboard our ship?" Kithak Prime asked when he discovered what had happened. "I asked nicely," Commander Cho replied. "Your guards thought I was one of your technicians. Human technology makes very convincing disguises. But our security systems are designed to stop other Veilthak," Commander Cho said. "They are not designed to stop creatures that are smaller, quieter, and more flexible than anything you have ever encountered." This was the final lesson. Humans did not win by being stronger or tougher. They won by being unexpected. They won by thinking in ways that their opponents could not predict. The alliance was signed 3 days later. The Veilthak Empire officially ended its campaign of conquest and joined the United Species Coalition. Kithak Prime became the first Veilthak ambassador to Earth, working with humans to develop new strategies for exploration and peaceful contact with other species. But the most important change was in how the galaxy saw itself. For 3,000 years, everyone had believed that might made right. The strongest species ruled and the weak species served or died. Humanity proved that survival was not about being the strongest. It was about being the most adaptable. It was about working together. It was about never giving up, no matter how impossible the situation seemed. 6 months later, Daehyun Park stood at the window of his research ship, watching the New Horizon dock with a space station that was jointly operated by humans, Veilthak, and 12 other species. The station was a symbol of the new galaxy, a place where different species worked together instead of fighting each other. Dr. Park called his research assistant, a young Veilthak scientist named Kithak Minor. "We are receiving data from the Deep Space Probe. It has found another inhabited system." "Good," Daehyun said. "Prepare a contact team. Equal numbers from each species. And remember the new protocols." "Yes, sir. Peaceful contact only. No threats. No demands. Just an offer to talk and learn from each other." Daehyun smiled. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, full of mysteries and challenges. But now, when those challenges arose, they would be met not by a single species trying to conquer everything, but by many species working together to understand and adapt. Earth's greatest gift to the galaxy was not human strength or human technology. It was the human idea that survival was better than conquest, that cooperation was stronger than domination, and that the best way to face an uncertain universe was together. The stars were still cold and silent, but they no longer seemed lonely. Somewhere in that vast darkness, new species were waiting to be discovered, and when they were found, they would be welcomed into a galaxy that had finally learned the most important lesson of all, that the strongest species was not the one that could destroy all others, but the one that could help all others survive.